Hello traders, it's Patrick. Welcome back. It is day 4 of your boot camp series, and today we're going to really start to get into the information that a lot of beginner traders are seeking, which is definitely how to get into trading, how to utilize the tool to start to make money. And so throughout the course, and I know that you guys have not seen much of it yet, we're going to be trading on candlesticks with certain type of scenarios and templates. And so the goal of today's video and the goal of day 4 is to not only get you set up with MetaTrader 4 to utilize the same template that I use, not only in the education but the trading rooms as well, but also just go through various things, various tips and tricks that I can show you to utilize the tools and show you to make sure that you know how to trade. So first things first, the screen you currently see right now is of course MetaTrader 4. And MetaTrader 4 has been downloaded to your computer, at least it should have been from day 1 with your broker. If you still have not gotten that done, it is now time. It's crunch time. You have to get it done so that we can start understanding the trading side of things and get the platform going. First things first, disclaimer, there is MetaTrader 4 for iPhone and Android, but I do not recommend ever trading off of that. I recommend only trading on an actual laptop or actual desktop computer. Whether you're Mac or PC doesn't matter. Obviously, just with Mac, you're going to have to run something like Play on Mac or Wine Bottler to convert it. But make sure you're on a computer screen, because for one, when you're sitting at a desk, it produces more work out of you. And when you're sitting at a desk, it feels like you're at work. It feels like you're working, and it's going to be that much more important for your focus and your drive. And secondly, the screen is obviously bigger, and it gives you more opportunities to find chances to make some money in the market. So first things first, when you guys open up your MetaTrader 4, you're going to see something like this. And if it's your very first time, you might even see 4 screens, 4 different charts. Whatever you see, I want you to hit X's everywhere. Hit X everywhere so that you don't have anything on your chart. And when you don't have anything on your chart, what it's going to show you is basically a blank area. You're going to come up here to these up and down arrows, or hit Control M. It's your market watch. First things first, in your market watch, this is where all your pairs are at. And once again, today's video is to run through as much as I can think of as far as MetaTrader 4. So this is where all your pairs are at. Now, a lot of you are going to see something like this, and it's a bunch of white space, and you're going to say, wow, I don't have that many pairs to trade. What you're going to need to do is right-click and hit Show All. When you do that, notice what happens. You get a lot more options, a lot more pairs. And so, once again, you should not see a chart for many of you guys, and if you do, it's okay. But what we want to do now is get a chart ready so that we can customize it. So what I'm going to do is just have you guys right-click on whatever pair you want. Say Aussie Yen here. Right-click and click Chart Window. So I'm going to click that, and then hit the Exit button here. Now, when I click Chart Window, notice it pops open basically the default template. And the default template will be different per broker, so don't worry about it. I don't want you guys to worry about what it is or what it looks like. So what I want you to first do on default template is now we're going to design what we want it to look like. Now, first things first, some of you guys may have a certain template up, and some of you guys may have one that looks, say, like this, or some of you guys may have one that looks like this. Whatever you have, once again, it does not matter. The goal is to get this thing cleaned up so we have a chart to work with. So the first thing I want you to do is right click and go down where it says Indicator List. Once again, right click and hit Indicator List, and this one is a Control I for a shortcut. It's going to pull up a little menu like this, and this is basically showing all of your indicators. Now we'll get into indicators in a bit, and I'll discuss in a bit what an indicator is, but what we need to do is delete them. We don't actually utilize these very often. And so what you want you to do is click on where it's to the right of this little F, this little gold F. Click on it, highlight it blue, and hit delete. And do it on every one of them. So you'll see here. And some of you guys may not have anything. Say you right click, and when you right click, no indicator list pops up. It doesn't have it. That means you just don't have indicators, and you're actually better off that way anyway. So then the second thing we want to do to get our template ready to go is we want to right click again and click this grid button. When you click it, your screen should already become much less busy. You see how much that cleared that up? The grid is one of the things that's my pet peeve personally. I want to get rid of the grid. It's just so much going on and it's so clustered, and it actually hinders my ability to see what the market's actually doing. Next, what I want you to do is right click again and go down to properties, or hit F8, but just at the bottom it says properties. It's going to open up an entire new panel. Now under common, what I want you to do is right here where it's the check on show period separators, uncheck that and make sure that everything else, okay, everything else is matched under common. So make sure offline chart is unchecked, the rest are checked, unchecked and unchecked, candlestick, and only the top of this one is checked. Okay, do not hit OK. Go over to colors, and this is where we're going to design the template. Now, the easiest colors for me to use are red and green. Red going up, green going up, red going down. And this is once again what I'm about to show you is what I use, but this is 100%, this part, optional, and you can design the colors however you so choose. It could be pink and blue, it could be black and purple, it does not matter. What matters is that you like it and you stick with it because you'll get used to it. So what I want you to have is, if you're going to copy me, background is black, foreground is white, grid doesn't matter because it's off. Bar up is lime, bar down is red. Bull candle, as we talked about in day 3, what does bullish mean? Up. So we want bullish to mean up, so I'm going to go to lime, and bearish, red. Okay, the rest of it can remain the same, and hit OK. Notice now we have a very clean black chart. Very clean black chart. And so this chart is now set up for very minimalistic price action trading, and is going to be exactly what you're going to need throughout the course and throughout the 18 days. Now there's a couple things I want to show you now to save this. So you see what we just did. We just designed the template. And so think about it this way. What if you had to do that every single time you opened a pair? Well, that would be, of course, you get really good at it, but that would be a very intensive process. So now I want to teach you how to actually save this as a template to allow you guys to always have it readily available. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click and go down here where it says template. It's going to open a menu, and everybody's menu will be a little different. At the top though, it should say save template. So I'm going to click that, and this is what will pop up. What I want you to name it is whatever you want to name, you know, and just make sure you remember it. So I'll name this one CPSG, you know, for the intensive purposes, CPSG, and leave the template file to TPL and hit save. Okay, nothing will happen, but what happens now is when I go under template, when I right click and go to template, notice it says CPSG right here. So what does that mean? That means if I open a new pair, similar to what we just did, we're back at square one. Instead of having to right click and switch the indicators and turn the grid off, I just have to right click, go to template, hit CPSG. Done. It's done for you. This is especially good for saving time, and you know, a lot of people, just these little things they don't know. So now we're going to start to get into designing, you know, your chart the way I think it should be. So up top, the first thing I want you to do is make sure that this green button here, see these two, this red and the green one is clicked out, so it looks the same as the rest, and the red one's clicked in. Okay, if I click this one, notice the chart, the red one out, notice the chart's really close to the edge, but if I click it in, notice I have room. The reason I want that is that it gives you an idea when you're drawing and say doing something on your charts. It gives you an idea, it gives you some room to think, and you can look at it and say, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. And obviously we'll go into, you know, how to do that in the next few days, discussing actually trading. But make sure that you have that. So that's the first one. Now, secondly, before we get into clicking and how to use all this crazy stuff, I want us to customize our toolbar for the best potential, tools so that you're matching what I have. And so on this toolbar, what I want you to do is first of all right-click anywhere in this toolbar, anywhere in these tools, and make sure that it's checked, 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 and checked. Okay? Make sure all of these are checked, and then hit Customize. When you hit Customize, this will come up, and everybody's will look different. And so what I want you to do is first of all get used to doing this. So how you do this is these are the available tools on the left side. These are what we can use, and these are what are available to us on our panel. So these are basically hidden, but we can use them at any time if we add them. Now I don't use all of these, okay? I don't use all of these, but you need to know how to remove them and enter them so you can match me. So how to insert them is very simple. Click it on the left side of available, right here, click normally and hit insert. Now what I want you to do, these two, the cursor and crosshair, they come standard. Leave those. There will be a line, and I want you to match the rest of them. Be it vertical line, horizontal line, trend line, Fibonacci retracement, text, rectangle, Fibonacci expansion. Meaning, anything else that's in here, say you have a Fibonacci time zone in here, make sure you remove it. Okay? I want you to match everything I've got here. Okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 different tools. So match every one of them, insert, 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 and hit close. It should look exactly like this in the top left corner. Okay? I have to go back and customize it because I inserted Fibonacci time zone instead of Fibonacci expansion. All right? And hit close. So this is what yours should look like. Okay? Just like this. These tools will set you up for success in the bootcamp series because these are what you're going to learn about and learn to use and all that good stuff. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to discuss with you guys is just a couple different pieces of information up here. And so, first things first, what I want to go through is your market watch. And I'm just going to show you what I deem important and basically stuff that I use. The stuff that I don't use, I really won't go too much in depth. So the market watch is the first one. Anytime you want to see your pairs, you can pop this open. Note that in this program, everything is always movable. As long as you can go to the edge of the screens, notice how this cursor will switch to some lines, and I can move that. So you can always have your pairs up if you like. Now, if you want to get your pairs to look like mine, just make sure that you have spread checked, auto arrange checked, and grid checked. These ones are important. If you have like high low, you can do that, but notice the more you get, the kind of more tangled it gets, and it's just a lot more information. And I frankly only like to know about the spread, the ask, the bid, and the pair. So anyway, that's what I have. Once again, auto arrange can be on. We don't want time. We don't want high-low. Okay, so that is your market watch, and you can leave this up at all times, or you can simply hit this X, and then of course to retoggle it, you can open this. The next one I'm going to exit out here is your data window. Notice it's just the data about the chart. Basically, I've never used it. I do not use it very often, so I'll just hit X here. The third is your navigator. Now this one's good because this is where all of your information will be, per your account and the name and all that good stuff. But also, it will be under like indicators. So if you ever want to add an indicator, which of course we're going to go through today, and I'm going to discuss some indicators I use. If you ever want to add some indicators, this is where you go to. I think right now is obviously a perfect time to teach you guys how to add some indicators. And I think it's a perfect time to show you that. So, some indicators that I like to use, and to be dead honest, when we go through this 18-day boot camp, what you'll notice is that we're teaching you based off of just the charts. I don't want anybody relying on an indicator or they think that there's some trick and magical way to make money in the foreign exchange. using an indicator. So we don't use them through the education platform. However, if you guys join the live rooms, which I imagine if you're watching this video now, you know you're going to be in the live rooms. If you guys join the live rooms, you'll see that I am using indicators. And so for the first one, what I want you to do is it might be just all jumbled up like this. To ever expand a section, just hit that plus sign. So I want indicators, so I'm going to hit the plus sign and it'll expand, and there's tons, as you can see. Next thing I'm going to go to is oscillators, and then I'm going to go to relative strength index, or RSI. I'm going to double click on that. Under this is what the first indicator that I like to use is an RSI. And relative strength index is a great indication of basically not looking at the chart, showing you, is the trend super strong right now, or could it be coming to a halt? And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. This is the first one I like to use. And so here's the parameters that I use. I use a 14 period, and anything that you see that's different, feel free to change. I always apply it to close. By preference, I use Dodge or blue, but obviously any color will do fine. And then, of course, for my line, I like to use something a little thicker. Fixed minimum, fixed max, 0 to 100. And on my levels, they're 30 and 70. And a lot of this information should be standard to you. Once you hit OK, the RSI will pop up. Now, the RSI here, for instance, is basically just showing us where the price is and how strong it is at that point. And anytime you get a situation where we have this line above or below these dotted lines, that's where you start to be worried that a reversal can potentially come. I mean, the market would quit moving upwards and finally move downwards. And so be very, very cautious in this zone, trading with trend at all times. And there's obviously some different things that we'll discuss in the course about that. Just wanted to show you how to add that on and give you a quick little snip of what the RSI is before we really get into trading in day 5 here. And then secondly, the other indicators I typically use are just some EMAs. And the EMAs I use are, I use between 3 and 5 of them, and it's really preference. And so what I want you guys to then click on is trend and moving average. Okay? And what I then want you to do is, under your parameters, make sure that it matches mine. So here I have a 5, a 0, 5 for period, 0 for shift, exponential, close, and yellow. Okay? And I hit OK. And then I will double click it again to add a new one. And I'm going to add all 5 of them for your guys' sake. And then I'm going to put in a 13. Everything else remains the same except for the color will be red. Okay? Then I'm going to hit OK. Then I'm going to click it again. And this time I'll do 50. And then I'll click light blue or a dark turquoise, whatever you want to pick, but it looks like a light blue. And then I'll click it again. You guys get the gist. This time will be 200, and we'll do white. And then I'll click it again, and this time will be 800, and it'll be, say, a dark medium blue. Okay? So what a moving average is just that. What's an average in school? When you look at an average in school, it's taking all the numbers together, adding them, and then dividing by how many there are. Well, a moving average is very similar. A moving average is looking at these candles and taking the location of these candles and averaging them together to give you a great spot. And so what I utilize are not necessarily these two small ones, 5 and 13. Of course, the lower the number, the more, obviously with an average, if you're only averaging 5 numbers, the number's going to really deviate each time. When if you have 800 numbers in an average, say you're taking a class, you're in a high school class, and if your teacher has 800 assignments in the year, what happens if you fail one assignment? Not much. If you take 5 assignments in the year, what happens if you fail one assignment? Probably a little bit. Well, it's the same with moving averages. The yellow is the 5, so that's that 5 class. Everything's super close, and it's determined a lot based off of market price, and it moves with the market a lot. Whereas look at these ones. 800 is just right along the middle. It's an average. It's not necessarily doing too much. So when the market shoots up, it maybe curves a little bit, but not a whole lot. And same with the 50. It's starting to curve up, but it's taken some time to do so. These are great support and resistance levels, and we'll discuss that in the course. So don't get too ahead of yourselves of trying to understand this too much. Just understand that they're on the chart. So since we added these, I want to add that to your CPSG template. So what I want you to do is right-click again, go down to Template, Okay, and then go to Save Template. This time you're going to search up here in your scroll bar for CPSG. Double click it and hit Yes. Now, when I add a new pair and I right click and go to Template, go down to CPSG, it adds everything for me. Now you're off to the races. Now you're ready to start trading. Okay, so hopefully you feel like, and I'm proud if you've gotten to this point so far, you're accomplishing things, believe it or not. This part here is just a big deal for all traders. So now what I want to do is then go in, we just did the navigator, so this is the navigator. Okay, this is the terminal, and the terminal is what will show your open orders, and it'll show your account and all that sort of stuff. And it'll show exposure and all that great stuff. So that's a good one to start to look at. And then on your strategy tester, you're going to ignore it. Okay. From there, now we're going to start getting to some more important things. The first one is new order. Obviously, I want you guys to know how to enter a trade. If you hit new order, it's going to bring up a very similar screen, or the exact same screen you guys just saw yesterday in day 3 when we were learning about market execution versus pending orders. Okay. To enter your order, you're going to hit new order. Now, this this course is very progressive. What happened in day 2? I talked about how to position yourself with a 2% risk based off of your stop loss level and based off of your risk reward and all that good stuff. So the volume size, of course, can be entered, whatever it is, based off of, once again, based off of what you calculated. So that's there. Same thing here. Here's your pending order, buy limits to sell limits. This is your price you're going to enter at. There's your stop. There's your target. All right. Now, for a while as you're learning, just play around with it. Get used to it. And it's just important that you start to get used to this. This is a custom area right here. Okay, the volume. Don't let this be your only options. It's custom. Type in what you want. Everything is custom. Don't let that be your only options for stop losses. Everything is custom. Okay, so that's how you use a new order. Medical language editor, you guys will not need to be needing. Auto trading does not matter. Once again, this is bar chart and line chart. We talked about it. See the difference here? We talked about it yesterday in day 3. We only use candles. So, but I want you to know that these are here. You can see a candle or a bar chart kind of shows you a little bit less intense. But I like the candles because it really shows me, and it's easiest for me to read. And of course, I've been doing it on the candles for a long time, so it's just more natural to me. Next, here's your zoom in, zoom out button. This is how you literally zoom in and zoom out. And you'll get used to clicking and dragging. As you can see, you can click and drag at all times. So that's zoom in, zoom out. One trick, if you zoom in or zoom out and then you're scrolling back and then you want to get back to current market price, you want to see where we're at right now. See how this is, April 3rd. I'm on June 8th right now recording this, or sorry, June 4th recording this. As I'm scrolling here, instead of having to scroll all the way back manually, if I'm way back here, I can hit the button on the end button on my keyboard. So I'll hit end, and it comes right back. Okay, so that's a quick trick for you guys. So hit end, it'll bring you back. Zoom in, zoom out. This arrange windows will show you all your pairs that you have available at the bottom. And this will allow you to look through them and see things. And obviously this is hectic right now, so I'm just going to go back here. But that's how you do that. Once again, this scroll is important to have it like this. You want the green out, okay? And then you want the red in. So notice how when you click it, it kind of does a little different look. It looks like you pushed it, like a button. You want green out and red in. Green out and red in. Indicator list is right here. Once again, this is how you can add some indicators. We did it the other way, so either way will work. And then this is your periods. It's not actually important because I'll show you that in a minute. And here's your templates up here. So without right-clicking, you can go to the template right here. All right. So come down here, like I just said, here's your time frames. It is important. I just said it's not important here because you actually have a window for that. So as we talked about with time frames yesterday in day 3, an hourly chart means every single one of these candles, every single one of these represents 1 hour in time. A daily chart means every single one of these candles represents 1 day in time. This is your toggle for that. This is how you switch through that. So if I zoom out, notice a daily chart and then a 4-hour chart, and then an hour chart all look different. They're all going to show you different things. The closer you get, the more intricate the market's going to be, the more volatile it's going to be, the more difficult it is to capitalize off of, per se. And so these are going to be your time frames that you'll be able to toggle through. So when you're trading the extension dip and the stuff we'll teach you, we'll talk about toggling time frames. So be sure you know how to do that. Okay. Now next we're going to go into the tools, and these are the tools, and these are important. And these tools are going to have a couple tweaks to their settings to make sure that you guys are in the correct spot. And I'll just teach you how to tweak them so that you can tweak them yourself. And I want everybody to mess with this stuff and become an individual. Once again, do not copy everything that I have. Do not copy every little itsy bitsy part of my charts. The important part is of understanding just the areas that are important. So the first one is draw a rectangle. So click it, and it should have your cursor look like a little rectangle. So down here, I'll draw a box. Now your box may not look like this. So at any time that you want to edit, you can do it one of two ways. Number one is right-clicking. Okay, right-clicking and going to indicator list. Or I'm sorry, not right-clicking, go to indicator list. Going to object list, and then clicking on your rectangle and hit edit. That's way number one. I don't necessarily like doing that because once you have a ton of objects, because you're going to be drawing your charts up, you're going to have Fibonacci's, you're going to have support and resistance, trend lines, all sorts of that stuff. I don't like doing that. How I like doing it is, notice the box right now pretty plush. It's just all the way around. If I double click on a corner, do you see those white dots appear now? So those white dots just appeared. Now if I right click on one of the white dots, notice a small menu comes up. You'll know you did it correctly if you right click and a small menu comes up versus this big menu. So right click it. It'll say rectangle properties. Click on rectangle properties. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a couple settings I like to change. The first setting I always like to change is draw object as background. I'll show you why. Notice right here. So this is where it's unchecked. That's how it comes standard. It gets difficult to see. So I want you guys to draw object as background. So check that. Then the rest is history. The only really thing you need to do is change your color. What color do you want? Do you want a white box? Do you want a red box? Do you want a blue box, green box? Do something that works for you. Me personally, I like to rock with this middle one here called Fire Brick. It's been what I've rocked with for a long time. And of course we have to have this as our red, and then we have an orange one as well. But you need to know how to change the colors, because as we go through the next few days, you're going to learn about why these boxes are important, and you're going to need to color code some things. And so orange for that video, just know that this will be the orange red that we'll use. And so those colors are good because it allows the candlesticks to see through. So that's the only setting I changed there. The second is your Fibonacci extension tool. Okay, this is your Fibonacci extension tool. And to use a Fibonacci extension, that's an entirely different video. Okay, entirely different video. But I want you guys to get used to just having it. So just click it and drag it up. It'll do something pretty like this, show you a bunch of numbers. I do not anticipate you guys know how to use this yet. That's okay. Same goes though. Double click on the red dotted lines, and when you right click, you'll be able to see the expansion properties. You'll be able to change some things. And so you'll notice that the only level I added was I hit add and hit 1.236 or 123.6. And so I did add this level. Feel free to add that level, and then we'll also revisit that at a new video. I have it a yellow here. This doesn't really matter too much, or the size. Feel free to change that if you so choose to make it a little thicker. Okay. The third one is there's no changes to be made. I'll just teach you how to use it. This is the text tool. And so when you click on it, you can click anywhere. When you click anywhere, this is how you can arrange it. So the text, this does not matter. The name does not matter unless you're a naming freak and you want it named in your object list. The naming will not matter. Okay, parameters don't matter. Visualization doesn't matter. Only thing that really matters is the text itself. So the text itself is what you type. Hello. You know, and so you could type out things and put notes on your charts based off of what you're seeing. In here you can change the font. Okay, you can change the size. You can change the color. And you can also change this to draw object as background. And so notice just kind of what it does and switches it up. Here's a bigger size. If that size isn't big enough for you, this is custom as well. Say 85. Okay. Just some different things, and draw object as background won't do too much for you. So that's just how you do that. Once again, fiddle with it. You know, I'm not trying to, not really much to do. You don't need to really pay too much attention on this, but it's important for marking origin 1, 2, 3 points once we get into big things. Next one is the Fibonacci retracement. Once again, another tool that we have. I have a selected video, a selected day where you're actually going to learn. That's it, only that tool. So don't get too antsy if you don't understand how to use it. But for this intensive purpose, it's just a click and drag, and you'll notice everything comes across, and you'll notice that you're able to adjust it and things like that. The levels I have right now can be adjusted by right-clicking again. Those white lines or those white dots will show up, and then you're double-clicking and then right-click here. And what you'll notice here is under Fibo levels, these are the levels that I currently have on. All right. So once again, these are some just little things that we'll have a full video on. Now the next tool, the next two tools are the ones that I really want to talk about because they're important for understanding the market. And so the first one is a trend line. Now a trend line has not been taught to you guys how to use it yet. But when people first download MetaTrader 4, let me show you what their trend line tool looks like. I challenge you to go do this real quick. Okay. It's going to look like this. That's what it'll look like. And it's okay, but it's really hard to manipulate and move when it continues up and up and up, and it just never stops. It's all right, but to me, it's not as useful as what it could be. So what I do is I double-click on the line until I get our 3 dots. I right-click and I go to Trendline Properties. First thing I do, is I go to Parameters, and I uncheck the Ray button. Uncheck Ray. Then under Common, color doesn't really matter, that's preference. But under Common, I always thicken it up too. And then I hit OK. Notice now I got a thicker red line, and now it doesn't continue higher. Now I can control and manipulate this line. I can grab my anchor points, as well as I can move the entire line by grabbing the middle, and really help myself to identify some opportunities on the charts from a technical standpoint. All right, so that's a little setting that's important to remember. So there's that next one. And then finally, the last setting is just draw a horizontal line. This one's preference, but notice I have a big yellow line, colors preference and everything. Same goes as follows. Double click on it, right click, go to horizontal line properties, and then under common, this is where you'll adjust the color. And of course, I have 2 down on the thickness. I always thicken things up. It just is more, it just pops for me. Okay. Once again, color's up to you. I could change this to any color. It does not matter. Now, the last trick that I want to show you before we go into just the crosshair tool is, what if you analyze the chart and you want to delete everything? Well, first I want to teach you how to delete something. If you want to delete one thing, all you got to do is, of course, double click on it, and once it's highlighted, hit the delete button and it's gone. Or just right click and click delete and it'll be gone. Okay. However, what I want to do now is show you how to delete everything at one time with one swoop motion. On my keyboard, you can't see this right now, but I'm going to do it on my keyboard. Take notes on this. I'm going to hit Control B, B as in boy, okay, and then I'm going to hit Control A as in apple. It'll highlight everything. All I then have to do is hit delete right here. Notice everything just left. I have a clean chart. I'm back to square one. So if you ever do a chart markup and you do a bunch of things and you know, you're here and there and everything's going great, and of course I'm not marking anything, I'm just showing you for example, and then you go to yourself, you know, maybe this isn't right, I need to restart. Control B, Control A, delete. Gone. That way you don't have to individually go through and click it. There's tons of different shortcuts for that, but that's the one that I use consistently. Control B, Control A. Okay. Now finally what I want to show you is under the crosshair. When you click it, notice you get crosshairs now. The only thing I want to show you is, if you're curious of one of the easier ways for Forex pairs, this does not work for the commodities on your charts or anything like that, but for the Forex pairs, if you're curious of one of the easier ways to count a pip movement, say you want to learn how to measure a stop loss, things like that, without having to go to that confusing way we talked about under pip where we were subtracting things and all that stuff. If you want to know how to do it via a crosshair, all you got to do is first understand that click and drag is going to work. So click and drag, and notice when I drag that there's tons of different areas here that's showing this, and so, or tons of different numbers, I should say. So as I hold it, notice those three numbers up top there. Okay, the right one showing us our price, but the middle one is the one we're paying attention to. The middle one says 2,000, and it's moving, of course, as I'm moving my stuff, but right now it says 2,624. What I want you to do is ignore the far right number, so ignore the 4. So now it only says what? 262, right? That's your pip movement, or 262.4. You're moving the decimal place once. So that's your pip movement. So that swing is 262 pips. So if you were getting ready to enter a trade and you're saying to yourself, you know, here's where my stop will be, I'm entering now, and I'm trying to go long, then all you got to do is click and drag with your lines, and notice it's 123 pips. Now you know your risk factor. You know that your reward needs to be minimum double that, and you're risking 2% max on 123 pips. Okay, so measuring that is very, very, very important. So once again, these are the tools of MetaTrader 4. The rest of these are very good. They're just different ways to get to your areas. They're different ways to get to all these places that I just showed you. All right, and then there's also help guides and video guides. And so understand that if you have any questions, CPSG is more than willing to help. I'm more than willing to help. You know, your team members are more than willing to help. Reach out to people, get questions answered, because you know the main barrier right now for you guys is not actually trading. It's understanding the platform. It's understanding MetaTrader 4. Once you can get MetaTrader 4 down like the back of your hand and understand it very quickly, that will make your life much easier. Promise you that. Okay? So that has concluded the MetaTrader 4 Summit, seminar, whatever you want to call it. This, once again, is day 4. Now, I'm going to take a moment. You've made it to day 4. You haven't learned too much yet. We're cranking up the heat, start day 5. Day 5 is where the course starts. Day 5 is where you start learning about trading. Day 5 is where you need to buckle down. And so it's about to really get started. If you've been just kind of watching these nonchalantly, it's time to really start paying attention. And finally, what I must say is if there's anything that you don't understand up to this point, terminology-wise, broker-wise, MetaTrader 4-wise, risk-wise, the 4 pillars that we just talked about, if there's anything, you must reach out to somebody, whether it's myself, one of the other corporate traders, one of your team members, one of your friends. Get your questions answered from day 1 through 4. Get your questions answered, because once we hit day 5, tomorrow, things are about to get much more intense, and the course is going to take a turn for really pinpoint trading action. So I'll see you guys back here for day 5, and get ready for your notes.